Hi everyone, my name is Allison and sorry for the internet issues. I am going to be joined here by my friend Sara, and she was having internet issues, so let's see if she can join in. This is my first time doing this, so it'll be, I have to figure out how it works. I don't know. I don't even know who half the people are. I see some friends, but you can tell that I'm pretty nervous because I'm usually a behind the scenes person. So let me see. Let me see how this works. I see Muhammad. I see Aisha. Hi, can you guys hear me? I hope so. Hopefully we can get Sara on here. And I get awkward when I'm sitting here talking to myself. So, okay, so you can hear me. I see Lori. And I see Sharuk. Hi. I don't know what I need to be doing because I wasn't starting this. I see everybody else sitting here. Oh my gosh. I feel kind of out of place because I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm talking to you guys, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm supposed to begin. And I don't know half of these people, but hi to everybody. We will start it in a minute. Okay. I think I got them. Hey, Tina.
Hi, hi,
Hi, Sara.
hi. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties, so I want to apologize to you and everyone else that was waiting. For some reason, my live button just disappeared. It was there 30 minutes ago, but it is no longer there. Anyways, hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm awkward talking to myself.
It's always like that in the beginning. Thank you so much for having us, for being with us tonight, Alison. I've seen your posts. You're such an inspiration to all of us. So the floor is yours. Introduce yourself. We just know your name now.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And I'm not used to that. Well, thank you so much. Please say live. I have no idea what that means, but it's Hannah. So I'm Allison, and I guess as Sara said, that I work internationally, but I am based in the United States, actually, Ohio. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 1994, and I knew right around then that I needed to be outspoken. And although I'm actually a very shy, introverted person, so it's kind of, you have to find that balance and figure out how to be outspoken while being shy at the same time. and and then in 2003, I received my ileostomy. So that's 18 years ago, and I've known about my Crohn's for 26 years. So he
Wow.
will age me, and I'm 41 years old.
Well, you don't look a day over 20.
Right. I think that's the genes. I think that's also part of the IBD side.
That's a one positive thing to look at. That's very good.
Yes.
So Alison, could you tell us a little bit about the ileostomy? I know I personally don't know much about it. Was the thought of it in the beginning, was it scary? Was it, how was it? Because it's new in the beginning.
Yes. So I'm from the days of no internet or limited internet. And so the resources were nothing like what we have now. So if you think of it that way, we pretty much had to figure everything out ourselves. And not only that, I was told when I was a teenager that I would have an ostomy at some point, and that scared me. I didn't know what that meant. And then when I was 21 or so, I went and saw got a full workup at a well-respected hospital, and they said I was about to have surgery the next morning, and the surgeons came in and told me, we don't want to go in and have your surgery because we think you're going to come out with an ostomy. So they didn't want to surprise me like that. They told me it's safe enough for me to go home and find a surgeon here in Ohio. So I had to also wrap my brain around what that meant. And I mean, still a lot of it is a blur because I was so incredibly sick. I ended up being pretty much bedridden for about a year and a half. But luckily, a brand new surgeon fell into my lap, and she had just started. And I was on, what she had me do was build up my my vitamins, my minerals, and then because you obviously have to have a good amount of vitamins and minerals for such a surgery to recover. And so I had a lot of IV stuff at home. And then what they ended up doing was they took out my large intestine. So that means I have an ileostomy. So that means a piece of my small intestine sticks out of my belly. Mm-hmm. So, but generically we call it an ostomy. So I woke up with that. As I said, there's not the resources. I didn't know what I was facing. I don't think even now. We only had a handful of products, but I pretty much I started showing people what it was. But I'm also not one that will show myself, and like everyone that I'm proud of all the people that do that, but those people that show themselves in a bathing suit and all that type of stuff. Hi, Erin. Show themselves in a bathing suit and all that. That's not me. So, but I like to tell people and educate people about everything. So I will say an ostomy is very fascinating.
Okay, so I think what your point is, I get it too. I'm not the type to, show it off if I had one. But you're saying that you're not ashamed of it in any way because it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have my days, but then there's also, it's kind of like, I've always been into anatomy and science. So you separate that from your belly, and you just find how fascinating it is. Oh, my screen just went dark. You find how fascinating it is that you're actually having output, which is what we refer to as having a bowel movement. You're having output and you're watching it. Like you're watching your food come out, and it's just so fascinating. Like you can see what you put in, and sometimes it literally comes out the same way. So it's kind of, sometimes, and other ostomists will know, sometimes it's kind of like a toy, because it's kind of, you think of like packing bubbles, like how they can release your stress. But I mean, for the most part, it's just, I don't know why I keep going dark. For the most part, it's just, I see Aisha laughing. For the most part, I mean, it's fascinating. And I mean, it's not necessarily a shame. There's times that, I have broader issues, but it's not, being more vocal has taken lots of time for me. And before I actually would meet up with anybody that had one, it took me 4 years. And they tried to get support system and a visitor, and I actually wasn't interested in it. I wanted to just hole up and figure out my life and see what needed. And I'm also very allergic to a lot of the products, so that was a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I see that. I'm assuming maybe you needed to get used to this new reality that you're living. And I know when I was diagnosed, I don't have an ostomy or anything, but it took me 2 years to even tell people. My friends always, even Hannah and everyone, they're always like, we're so proud of you. You're talking about it now. And that was just having, been diagnosed with the disease. So what you went through was obviously a lot more, it's surgery, trauma, everything. So obviously you needed time to.
Yeah, actually, I was diagnosed at 15, so I was in high school. And I missed so much school that it started to become, there was a lot of rumors that were said about me, and I realized that I needed to speak up. Overall, I ended up missing 370 days or so of school.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like steroids and the physical appearance changes a ton, and having to explain that while you're in the midst of being a teenager. I just had to be the one that I had to speak up, and it was difficult. So, but at 15, having to do that, where you were older when you were diagnosed, so that was, I was kind of thrust into that. I felt like that was my responsibility, though, too. And then the whole like ostomy side of things that came, like 5 years later. I can't add. So I actually had dealt with the IBD side of things for a bit, and I had had surgery and I've had surgery since. So there's I will reiterate, an ostomy, whether it's a colostomy, an ileostomy, it's not a cure. You can still have Crohn's disease or something in other areas of your body. So
that's very interesting, because I remember when I was first diagnosed, I don't know who it was, someone was like, well, why don't you just remove your colon? And for a second I thought, obviously it's a scary idea, but then once I went to the doctors and I was just curious, I was like, is that a cure? They're like, no, and we don't recommend it unless it's so that's very interesting to even I didn't know. I thought, oh, if they take it out, then that must solve the problem, but it's an autoimmune disease and there's so many other things. So Alison, everything you said is so inspiring. I wish I had your courage and your guts. But could you tell us, so I can see where you said where you started when you felt like you needed to speak up, but I've noticed you're also very active on social media. I started following, I'm like a stalker now. I followed your Instagram, your Twitter, everything that I could find on you. So what motivated you to really, not just speak out to your friends and family, but really, want to be the voice for other, patients as well?
This is actually, and I don't even think he's on here, but I'll send him this link. This is actually very important to me. One of my best friends actually has Crohn's, and I met him when internet was just getting popular. I was in college, and he called me crying because he couldn't decipher between all the medical bills and the doctor's appointments, and I couldn't sit back and allow that. I waded through paperwork this was prior to, we have something called HIPAA, which makes it so, you lived in the States, so you understand there's a big privacy.
You can go ahead and explain to everyone.
Yeah, it's a big privacy act. I don't want to get into the whole portability, blah, 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 because I will mess it up. But it means that your records are your records, but it still makes it a zillion times hard to get it. And that actually started the year that I had my ostomy surgery. So I was dealing with the HIPAA signing of everything more than people do it anymore. But when my best friend called me and was crying because he was trying to get his medication and he was states away at that point, I figured out ways to have him sign off on paperwork so I could access his work and I could help him. He was getting overcharged, and I couldn't sit back. I had to help him. He didn't have family where he was. And I said, wow, I can do this. I need to do this. I need to help people maneuver through this. And that was where it began, honestly. And and he knows this, but I wish that he could hear right now, me telling, but
Well, we can make sure at the end to save this. It will say a save as an Instagram, so you can definitely send it to him. He needs to see this.
yeah.
That was lovely. It's inspiring. I think sometimes, even though you went through the same, you didn't think about yourself. But when it's someone else and it's a dear friend, that's when you're like, okay, I really need to do something. So that's amazing. So can you tell us some things that you're up to, or this with the Crohn's and colitis? Maybe are you doing anything, or do you know if are you part of any activities? I know with COVID it's a bit difficult now, but with the Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Week.
So my big thing that actually got me involved internationally a lot more than I was pre-COVID, I should say, or it actually started in April of 2019, is that I work on something called, it's mainly on Twitter, but we're on all social media. I work on something called Monday Night IBD, and that is with one of the best IBD doctors that I know. Her name is Dr. Charabati, and seriously, just unreal. And we do a conversation every week about some sort of topic that could come up or has come up in a GI's office, or in an endoscopy or something of that nature. So, and on Mondays we have a guest clinician, a guest doctor post a case type. So it could be a 41-year-old female that has XYZ and needs to have this or this. What do you suggest to do, whether it's medication? And then it's kind of like a debate session. We keep that open for a couple of days. On Wednesdays, we do a patient experience side. So we can let the doctors know what the patient's experience from our personal experience besides a textbook. We're different, and what do we feel about taking so many medications and throwing the kitchen sink at things? And then on Fridays we have, and that's open for a couple of days. So everybody, and I have friends that will help me translate it into Arabic and into Spanish. Shout out to Dr. Hernandez. And everybody can weigh in. Please do it. And then on Fridays, Wasim, actually Dr. Ahmed, I should say his name, he puts together, he's one of the few that is part of this Monday Night IBD. It's called the Ibd Algorithm Master. Is what Dr. C has put together. They put together this algorithm. So it puts how you would treat this type of process, and it gives you, like a tree branch type of thing. And then it also says what the patient says, the ideas of what patients say. And so it's a nice thing. It's on Fridays. And then I also compile all of the conversation, and that's released also. And then on Saturdays, to start out the whole entire week, there's a whole basic, we call back to basics. We have people that will do a whole tutorial. So it's just constant. It's a whole new topic every single week. There's something for everyone. It could be lit. This week we did something about a Nature article. And the author of the article broke it down, and people could ask him questions of how he got to that article that he said was his whole life's work. And that was just so mind-blowing. And I'm actually still reading some of the conversation. It's just, the conversations just go everywhere. So it's pretty neat. And that's actually my biggest project, and it's one of my favorite things I think I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about it, and I am so excited. It sounds amazing. It sounds more than neat. It's mind-blowing, just like the word you use. You kept going. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then you kept going. I was like, wow, there's more in a great way, I had no idea about this, and it's so good that, so Monday Night IBD, is that what you said on Twitter?
It's all one word, Monday Night IBD.
Okay.
Um,
All right, that's what I'll be doing tonight.
we're on all social media, but that's our main area
Platform.
of the fluidity. It doesn't matter the time zone. That's actually, he's going to make fun of my accent. That's where Dr. Motez found us, and he will weigh in as well. And so that means that somebody from a complete opposite side of the world is weighing in to somebody from Maryland and somebody from Ohio. And that just is unreal to us. Dr. C and I just, every single day, she and I just say, this is just unreal. Unreal. How, I mean, we're now actually being cited in journals, and it's just,
Wow. Yeah, no, that's amazing.
But I'm so humbled by everybody's excitement for this. I mean, honestly, it's one of my favorite things. I've learned so much, and even as a patient, and I read every single comment, and she does too. We read and we read them twice, because we read them from that account and our own account. So we read every single comment. We think every single voice matters, and it's whether you have 2 followers or you have 250,000 followers, somebody that we know, it doesn't matter. Everybody's voice matters, and everybody needs a spotlight. So that's and the fact that we both feel that way is I think that's why we mesh so well.
No, that's amazing. I love the whole patient doctor and everyone, like the relationship. You're both trying the best, you're both trying to help each other. I mean, the doctors help. I think that having that relationship is very important, because if the doctor doesn't care, then, they won't put the efforts in.
Yeah.
And I love how, so it's inclusive in that way, but I love how you said it's international. It's also inclusive in, like, when I moved here, I was like, okay, the States is its own thing. I'm just gonna, but it's really nice that even when we were speaking, you were talking about Middle East, and I was like, wow, it's really amazing to be, included in everything. And I'm just, honestly, I'm speechless. I mean, I know I'm talking, but everything you said just sounds unbelievable. And, obviously it's true.
I mean, the fact that I know a well-known doctor there, Dr. Misfer, and I'm sure he's smiling at the fact that I'm saying it funny. I know him, and I know that he's very approachable with a lot of the patients. I wouldn't have met him another way. It's a very common name, but Dr. Ali, I mean, that there's just being able to bring the education to, I'm talking to Bahrain right now, to bring the education and to broaden the horizons is just the best feeling. And also, we couldn't do this. I couldn't do this without the community. It's a community. It's not Dr. C and Alison. It's a community. That's what makes it so different than anything else. And it doesn't matter where you are located. Everybody's in the same fight. And being able to understand what the person, like you and I have been talking, and I could understand what you've gone through. It's that type of thing. So everybody can understand, and the doctors can learn from each other. And then with COVID, that was pretty much everything went virtual. So everybody started turning to us, and it was, obviously I didn't sleep for so long like everybody else, and it was just, it took the place of the conferences that all the GIs were missing too, which has helped the educational side of things, and all the fellows, the GI fellows, and the residents. So it's really been just phenomenal. It's I can't say enough about it. It's a lot of work. I won't deny that. It's a lot of work, but I can't say enough about it.
No, but it's amazing work. It's, helping each other.
Dr. Misford.
But that sounds, it's all amazing. And I think what we're trying to do in Bahrain is also the same thing. Obviously, we're a much smaller community, but we are saying that we're there. We're here for each other. We're here to raise awareness. We're here to help one another. I mean, we're helping ourselves as well because we're all patients. We're all just like you said. I talk to you, you talk to me. I feel your pain, you feel my pain. Or you just, you know, the struggles of getting medication, insurances. Some insurances cover you, some they don't even cover you here. You know, finding the doctors. And you know what, something that you said that really spoke to me is, I think in the beginning, at least myself, I used to think that, you know, the doctors are really busy. They don't have time for this and everything. But even based on our experiences, the doctor that we all go to here, she has an incredibly busy schedule, but she always makes time for us. And she is approachable. It's just I was new here, so I was like, no. But, you know, so it's very interesting that you said that. It's like, you know, don't be scared, kind of. Maybe that's just how I am, but I know, go towards that. And they always reciprocate, and you become a good team.
That's absolutely it. It's team, it's communication, it's bridging. I mean, I've always said I wanted to break the white coat syndrome, which I'm sure you're aware of. It's when people just clam up when they see a doctor, and I've always wanted to break that white coat syndrome and talk about that is a communication. If you don't talk to your doctor, or they don't openly talk to you as a partner, then who's going to get better, and who's going to change the process if you don't discuss it. So the fact that I'm a patient and I partner with a doctor on this whole project is a huge piece of the fact that we're bridging the communication altogether, and showing the partnership between a doctor and patient, and showing how everything comes full circle, and everybody's a patient at some point. So, I mean, it could just be for, you know, the flu or something. Somebody's a patient. So, and just talking about how to communicate with the doctors, or how to advocate for yourself. Even if you're a shy person like me, you know, there's ways to bring things up without overly overstepping yourself and being too uncomfortable. And there's little tidbits that we share and that type of thing. But it's truly a partnership.
I was going to say, they're a partnership and maybe a little bit of friendship as well. I always look at my doctors as my friends, because honestly, if you've seen my intestines, then we're very close at this point. And just because of how caring you are, I've had doctors that were like father figures to me, and I literally felt the love and care. And if I wasn't, for example, if I were having some issues, they would genuinely be upset, because you're my patient and it's important to me, you know, to my career and everything, that my job is to make you feel better. So if you're not feeling better, then I'm doing this wrong, so I need to improve. So I really like that. So based on everything that you said, what advice would you give someone, whether it's the whole community, or I'm also shy, by the way. I know it doesn't sound like it now, but because we're equally shy, it's balancing it out, and I feel very comfortable with you. But for me, even especially, I always feel a bit hesitant. I recently just started telling close friends and family and coworkers about, you know, just having IBD or raising, you know, awareness. But I'm not quite there yet, where I feel confident enough to just tell anyone. Because sometimes you tell someone and they're like, they either don't know what it is, but you're not sure if they don't know or if they don't want to know. Or, you know, you seem like you know how to start a positive conversation, especially in these like IBD awareness week. It's such a good opportunity. If it's someone close to you, it's easy. I just went to my coworker that day. I was like, hey, do you know what day it is? And she was like, what? And I was like, it's IBD awareness week. And I showed her this whole infographic and everything. But I mean, not just as an individual, how do you have any, you know, advice just from your personal experience for us as a society? You know, we're still trying to grow. We're trying to, what is it called, plant our roots and figure things out. Do you have any sort of advice, whatever it is, would be appreciated.
Well, first of all, I heard that you guys are becoming this organization, and I want to congratulate you guys because that's phenomenal. When I heard that, I actually cheered and was so excited, because I know it's a small area, and to know that there's a society that is a small version but similar to our Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, which is well known, just like Crohn's colitis UK and things. And I truly want to say congratulations that Bahrain has formed a society that is getting recognized. Is truly a big deal, and I think that's phenomenal. Um, but so the ways to speak up. I mean, generically, I say, you know, my health condition. If and I'll beat around the bush for a while. I'll not say something. I don't say, "Hi, my name is Alison. I have Crohn's disease." Who's gonna say that? You know. Granted, because I was diagnosed at 15, and the rumors started, and I pretty much lived in the hospital. I had to come out and say certain things, but I didn't get very detailed, even with my peers. But now, I mean, I still even hide the true details until I can tell that somebody really wants to know. But share your story. Share, like, don't necessarily be ashamed of it. And you don't have to relive your traumas. I'm one that compartmentalizes everything. And something needs to bring out that story for me. But I know that people feel connected when you say, "I completely understand what you're going through." I mean, you didn't even have to tell me anything more about you except for the fact that you have ulcerative colitis. I didn't ask for anything else because that was enough, you know? So just think of how, like, we refer to it as an IBD family. So there's that. If you truly want to get something out, just, you know, even as simple as joining our conversations, that can help give you a little bit of boost of confidence, and slowly start sharing your story. You can utilize something like this week to say something just once, and just share a picture, share somebody's post, and do it slowly so you don't feel like you're putting yourself on display too much if that's something that you're trying to hold back on. And I know that there's a lot of stigma. I know I've talked to a lot of friends over in the Middle East that say that there's a lot more stigma than there is here in the United States. So if that's something, that's why I say to, you know, share it slowly. Something that, I mean, if you see somebody's post, if you're wanting to go social media, then share their picture. If they give you permission, of course, share their picture. And after a bit, you'll start to feel a little bit more comfortable about it. And if you want to learn, you can lurk. You can just sit on the sidelines and start learning. And then after a bit, you'll see that people start engaging with you, because you'll start getting more comfortable. And it's similar to speaking out about it. I mean, the fact that I speak out about it, and the fact that I talk about my ostomy but I don't show it, there's ways of doing that. And it starts in very small steps. Start to push your boundaries a bit, and that's how you can break some of that stigma. If people only knew how far we've come since I was diagnosed 26 years ago, since I received my ostomy 18 years ago, everybody would be shocked. Honestly, it's so take these times to say something. Say, you know, like a post if it's on social media, because obviously we're all pretty remote at this point. Like a post. That's all you need to do. Show support for somebody, and you'll start to bring that out in yourself. You'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel. I always say it's a smile in my heart. You'll feel that, and then you'll say, "Wow, I think I wanna tell them I have this," you know, or even in a private message, "I have this," and that you'll feel the strength that gives you. And it's just, and then maybe next year you'll say something, or next month, and that's just, it's literally giving me chills, because I just totally remember that feeling. And
Yeah.
and I call my my company is called Empowering Patients. So I call it that because you'll feel empowered. You'll feel empowered by doing these things. And that's what I want, is I want people to feel empowered in their healthcare, empowered in their bodies. It's your body. You're the only one that lives in it. And if you want to talk to people about it and help break stigmas, you start slow and do like it's your choice. It's for you to do.
Yeah, so sort of baby steps. And I think, I mean, based on most of our experiences, that we have been given support once we've done that. You know, and then I think that's when you get more courageous. I remember a lot of people know that I first it feels like a coming out of the IBD world story. It was IBD World Day this May. So I kept seeing all my friends post something, like Hannah and Mohammed and everybody, and I always liked it. I was like, oh, they're so brave and everything. And then they encouraged me. They're like, Sarah, why don't you post something? And I was like, really? And then, but they were so encouraging. And once I posted it, I got all this love and support. And I'm not saying I'm all like, oh, I scream to everyone that I have ulcerative colitis now, but I'm a lot more comfortable in my skin, and it felt empowering. They were like, I got comments that I wasn't expecting. I thought it would be pity comments, and of course, you know, some people feel sorry for you, which is fine.
Right.
But there were a lot were like, wow, you're so amazing. Wow, you're so strong. And then I was like, wait, I am strong. You know, you started to believe it as well, things that you don't see in yourself. But other people, you know, a lot of people see things in you. I mean, I'm sure you know how amazing and strong you are going through, was it 26 years you said?
Yes. That thing is, I don't see that, just like you're saying. I don't see that.
See, but I see you, and I'm like, wow, she's Superwoman, you know? And then juggling through life, there's so many things, you know, apart from just having IBD, or, you know, there's always little things, like, even if you don't have them all the time, you know, we all get fatigued sometimes. We all have that brain fog, whatever it is. Like you said, there's no cure, really. So we all have these little symptoms sneaking up. So it's amazing that we are living life. And if someone else saw us, unless we're very ill, they wouldn't know, because it is an invisible illness. And people usually look at me and they're like, you look fine. I'm like, well, my colon is trying to murder me. But I mean, you know, it's not something that you dwell on, and you move on and everything. Yeah. So to me, you are I mean, everyone, honestly, I always call them my IBD sisters and brothers. They're so inspirational, because there's not one story that I hear. Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I love, like, when I get those messages, it truly, like, I mean, I say it fills my heart. It really does, because I get everybody saying the IBD sisters and brothers, and I mean, I hear that from my Middle East friends, and it just is so, I love that. The niceness from everybody is just, I can't express it. But
and you see how easily we connect. I mean, we just started speaking last night, and I feel like I've known you for 10 years. I've had other people, you know, I've had friends from a long time that once I posted a picture saying that I have IBD, you know, raising awareness, they were like, wow, you have IBD, I do too. And then we were like IBD sisters, and there were people that were acquaintances, but now it just brought us closer, because it's just something that actually helps you bond. So I always look at it as one of the positives of having IBD.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things that we get.
Yes, it's an unspoken connection. I actually saw somebody say something. I don't see the first name, but it says the problem in Arab communities is they don't have full knowledge. But here in Bahrain, we are trying to bring awareness to our community. And honestly, that's actually, that brings something to mind. Is a couple weeks ago, I was asked, and I was quite shocked about this. I was asked in a Middle East group that I'm in, is IBD in the United States? And I was really shocked, because I wouldn't have thought that it was unknown that it's here in the Western world. I thought that it was pretty obvious. And And to dispel that to friends in the Middle East, I felt like I was doing a service, and to be able to explain it and to give the numbers of 1.6 million in the United States alone. And I mean, so bringing that and letting you know that even though you're in Bahrain or you're in Saudi Arabia or you're in Kuwait, there's somebody here in Ohio that completely gets it.
Mm-hmm. That's the amazing part. That's how I was before I moved here. Like I said, I was just diagnosed. I felt really lonely coming here, knowing that probably nobody knows what it is here, because I barely knew what it was. And then I kept Googling Instagram, and I found Bahrain Crohn's and Colitis Society, and I started messaging, and they were like, I have Crohn's too. And I was like, that's amazing. So once I got here, I had this support group as well, and I made some amazing friendships. And exactly, it's nice. I was all the way there messaging people here that were so kind and, accepting. And like you said, it's really nice because, I mean, IBD doesn't discriminate. It's everywhere.
Honestly. And I mean, if you look at what we talked about this week on Monday Night IBD, it shows that it's in India. It shows it being in China. It shows that it's in Canada. It's everywhere. Unfortunately, it's everywhere. So it doesn't matter where you are located, who you are. So just know that there's a commonality. There's that common bond. And whether you're, as the person had said, whether you're in an Arab country, you have something in common with me. Mm-hmm. So if there's a way that we can work together as a team to break that stigma or to bring more awareness, and I know Dr. Motaz is working hard to do it as well. He's a good friend of mine. Do things with him as well. He wants to partner with people. Sara does a lot of things. If that helps to educate your community, so there's not as much misinformation and to be able to dispel some myths, which I know are rampant, then try to do that. If you feel it in your heart to do it, then I would suggest, if you want me to connect you with them, not just you, Sara, but if you want me to connect you with them, anybody, I'll do it, because I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help people. I mean, I'm always supposed to connect people, and I'm supposed to, my tagline, as I say, for empowering patients is, I advocate to help clarify the healthcare world with you. So I help you understand what's going on. So if I can help you in whatever way possible, you better believe I'm going to do it.
I think on behalf of everyone in Crohn's and Colitis Bahrain, I think we would be more than happy to accept your hand in the help that you're offering us. Because I mean, we're all a team around the world. Just because we live thousands of miles away doesn't mean that can't be done. Because I know all of us with all our hearts also want to, break the stigma, clear out any misinformation that we have. Oh, that's lovely. We have people from Yemen.
Oh, I just saw that.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Thank you.
Because there is this stigma, unfortunately. I know it's everywhere, even in the States, but it feels like it might be here more, where having any kind of illness is something to hide, something to be ashamed of. And I remember when I was first diagnosed, I felt that way, just because that's how society, even in the States, that's how they made me feel. Like, you're so young, how could you? Even sometimes when you go to someone and you tell them, but you're only 27. How are you on so many medications? So now, I mean, I have the confidence to say, well, it doesn't check for ID when it comes for you, and that doesn't discriminate. There are children that have it. So I think what we really want to try, one of the goals of the Crohn's and Colitis Society in Bahrain, is to really break that stigma and say that just because we have an invisible illness doesn't mean that we're in any way incapable of, you know, being just like anybody else. But if anything, it's quite empowering. I know I'm definitely a stronger person than I was 2.5 years ago in so many ways, in confidence, in loving my body. I was going to say trusting my body, but we have to wait on that a little bit longer till we're in sync. Just handling situations now. You know, the smallest inconvenience would make me crumble, but now I'm just like, do I go to the ER or do I not go to the ER? So it's a lot. It has definitely prepared me more for life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, any hardship that comes, we all have them, whether it's IBD related or not. I think with a clearer mind, you know, it just, I'm sorry, I'm like rambling on,
No,
but
keep going.
I think you know what I'm trying to say.
I'm completely listening to you, and I'm completely agreeing with you. I mean, and when you said about the medicine that people question you, when people question my medication, and I've had many, I mean, in 26 years, I've had many people question medication, and of course I question it myself too. I say, I take my medications to make my organs work the way that they're supposed to, the way that they're intended. That's actually the way that I describe taking whatever medications I need to. I mean, that may not be the way for everybody to do it, but I feel like that's the easiest answer to give to people. I'm taking them to make the organs do their job.
Because that's what they do. They make sense. We all have hyperactive immune systems. So it's the way, yeah, because I think that's actually, I think I'm going to start using that if you don't mind. It's such a great way to explain it because, and if anybody comes to my house that, you know, is relatively new and they see that whole cupboard, I'm sure we all have that full of medication. I mean, I have so many that my husband's like, maybe we should buy another one because now they're just out on the coffee table. So I think that's another thing to go about. You know, people are like, why are you taking so many multivitamins? Why are you, you know, on biologics every week? Or are you not worried about, you know, the consequences or the side effects? Usually what I say is that without this medication, I would not be able to function. But like what you said, it explains it more because, you know, they'd be like, what can't she function on? So your way is better if, you know, my body's not working how it's supposed to be. So these medications kind of, you know, put things where they're supposed to.
Right. Is exactly. I mean, and that's the same thing when people say, unfortunately, when they say they'd rather die than have an ostomy. Getting my ostomy allowed me to be alive and allowed me to be alive for my nieces and nephews to be born and to help mold them to be people that they are today, which are wonderful people. I mean, how much I would have missed out on. My ostomy doesn't hold me back. Unfortunately, my disease is active and it holds me back. So those are other things to think about. I mean, you know, and having a prosthetic, what I refer to as a prosthetic rectum, versus never having met my oldest niece, that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, she was honestly born 6 months prior or 9 months prior to my ostomy. She's only known me with it. I would have missed that. I mean, people that just imagine saying that type of thing, and when you look at it that way, just realize what all can go on. I mean, I've worked, I've played sports, I've done so much, and the ostomy doesn't hold you back from that stuff, and your IBD doesn't necessarily have to hold you back from that stuff, and that's the type of thing. You know, being able to take your medication. Unfortunately, there's no Crohn's medications for me right now, but if you have a medication that works, just let it. It's helping you stay alive.
Yeah, and I think that's something also that not only do we have to remind ourselves why, because, you know, obviously there are days where I'm like, I'm so tired of taking 12 pills a day and injecting myself every week, but then And as a lot of people know, I dread injections, but I look at it, I'm like, but it's letting me live my life to the fullest, where I forget that I have ulcerative colitis. So I take it happily with a smile on my face. And yeah, I think that's also another thing, because a lot of people assume, one of the other things that we should, I think part of the breaking the stigma is that, when I think it's misinformation really, that people assume that once we're in remission, so I'm almost in remission, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there, thankfully. Hopefully we'll know soon in a few days. But they're like, so you'll stop your medication, right? You won't have to take that many anymore. And then I have to, but it depends how interested they are in the conversation. So, based on their interest, I will explain that, but these medications, they need to stay on them in order to maintain remission. Because if I stop them, there's a chance I'll stay in remission a short amount of time. Maybe some people stay in remission a few years, but it comes back a lot worse than before. And why let it get there? Why not just, have that smooth path, which sometimes might have a little bumps along the way. But I think that's another thing that we're also trying to do is, medicine, it's also another, I think, stigma that medicine is bad or too much medicine is bad. Same thing goes, I think, for, like things that we take for anxiety or, clonazepam, Klonopin, all these things where you think it's bad. I remember when I was younger, I used to think these things are not to think about anyone else, but, that I shouldn't take these things. But there was a time where my GI and my psychologist, everyone agreed that I really needed that, where my disease was very active and I was mentally struggling. And it helped me. And there's nothing wrong with I needed it for short term, but there's nothing wrong with taking it long term. And I think that's something I personally I had that in my head where it was bad. But now I'm like, no, they're there. That's what science is there for. And that we would be a lot more miserable, without it. So I think that's something we also need to remind ourselves, that taking these medications is not a burden. I think dealing with insurance, sometimes having other issues, we have some issues here as well. It's all around the world. You're like, yeah. We've all cried and screamed. I think we've all cried on the phone with the insurance lady saying, please, I need my medication. They're like, I don't care. But at the end of the day, our medication is our treatment plan. It's not a cure, but we can live, I keep thinking of it this way for myself to stay positive, because if I could, if there was a cure, then I would want it as well. And we don't know. I mean, things are progressing and everything, but for now, this is, sort of the closest thing to a cure that I can have, that I can, I can travel. Before I started biologics, I mean, things were not well. I was always in bed. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't eat. I mean, not that I weigh much, but I lost a lot of weight. And I had to be admitted in the hospital. I've had so many, you know how it goes. We've all been there and even more. But once I started the biologic, sure, people are like, what about the cancer? What about the root? But something that my doctor told me, and that's a very caring doctor, is that the pros outweigh the cons.
Yes.
And that's something that I keep reminding myself. I'm like, I'm doing great, and I'm lucky enough to not have pretty much any side effects from all the medication that I'm taking. And the ones that I do have are nothing compared to my ulcerative colitis flaring. Yeah. So I keep reminding myself that medication is, I know it now, I believe it, because of what I see it has done to my life. And I think a lot of people, but at the same time, even I think a lot of us are IBD patients, they're like, I'm in remission, can I stop it? But so I think it's educating ourselves and educating people around us. I know my husband didn't know that. And it's not his fault because I never spoke about it. So I was like, I'm in remission. So he's like, you can stop your medication. He was happy for me, like, because he knows I don't like it. But I was like, no, maybe there's a chance that I can reduce some things, because if I'm in, deep remission, but I would never completely stop everything, because, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to get into that right now, because this is still just basic type of things. But yeah, there is ways of de-escalating with your doctor, but you have to just accept you'll be on something for the rest of your life. And that's hard to accept, and I talk to people all the time about accepting it. And, that's it's hard, but
it's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to do. And, but you'd rather have that than just be the opposite. And then obviously there's relapses and you know, if you're in remission and that type of thing. But I mean, just imagining how it could be if you didn't do anything, and if you find the medication that works and you just stop that. It just, to me, that doesn't make sense. If you find something good to eat, you're gonna stop eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that? You're starving your body from something. I mean, until there's a true cure, well, there's not going to be one cure. There's going to be multiple, because obviously there's a spectrum of diseases. Until there's cures, then you take the medication that works, that helps your body do what you need to do. You know, I mean, that's the way. That's the best way to look at it. I mean, I was from the days where we didn't have biologics, so just be so thankful that there's biologics.
That's another thing. I do hear that a lot about people who've had, you know, Crohn's or UC back in the day, and they're like, we didn't have it back then. If we did, I could have kept my colon. Not to say anything about not having a colon, but you know what I'm saying? We have so many options now. And I know when I talk to my US GI, he's like, we have new things coming. There are new clinical trials. And another really good option is clinical trials. I know that would be my last result as well. But yeah, I think the whole thing about medication is bad. I'm at this point where I'm like, I love medication. Give me all the medication it takes to, you know, make my body happy. So I think we all struggled at first, but it's good to get there, and it's good to also, you know, educate people about it, because it's not a bad thing to be on medication.
No, as long as it's helping you. I mean,
Exactly.
And I've had to deal with that too. I want to make sure, I know that we're getting close. I want to make sure that I'm not gonna mess up and not and not save this, because everybody's screaming, save this. So
yeah, I think in the end, once it's over, it'll give you the option to save it as an Instagram TV or anything that it says save. Just that would work.
What's that? Okay, so if I mess up, everybody can just blow up my phone.
No, it's okay.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if I mess up. It's my first time playing it. So, but I feel like it's going to be not too long. I know that it gives you an alert. So, but who knows?
I think in a minute, I think.
Okay. So
anyways, we'd like to thank you.
Yes.
So much. It's been such an honor to get to know you.
I'm just so thankful that I have friends everywhere. And wait, it will say end now, then post to IG live.
Okay, there we go.
Listen to the pro. Let me say that. Listen to the pro. But I do want to thank everybody. I mean, everybody is just so genuine and so nice. I say that to friends all the time, that I'm just so grateful and thankful. And honestly, I do mean that from the bottom of my belly. I can't, I hope people realize that I truly do mean that, because it's just having the compassion, whether you're local to me or not. I mean, I'm pretty much inside my house with how I've been feeling. So being able to connect with people and them to know that I'm an authentic person is so important to me. And I want to thank you all for taking me up on this offer. And I'm just so, I'm so, I don't even have the words for it. It's actually getting me tongue-tied. I don't have the words for it. I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful for the platforms that we all have. I'm so thankful that we were able to do this. I'm thankful for Aisha, just because she's somebody that I'm just, you know, so close with. And, you know, Aaron is one of my best friends too. And he's been making fun of the foods that I eat through all these comments. I've been seeing it, Aaron. So, I mean, seriously, I want to thank you guys. I mean, just whatever I can do, message me. Granted, I'm going to have to use Translate.
You're going to regret that, to message me.
What? Well,
you're going to regret me messaging you all the time.
No, just know, well, you speak English. Just know I do not speak Arabic. I know 15 words. And
that's amazing.
We can guess what 15 words I know. So just know that to Risa, just know that I will, if you write to me in Arabic, I'm gonna have to go through translate, so it'll take me a little bit extra. So, but I'm okay with that. I feel like that's my purpose. That's my legacy that I need to be doing. It's for my nieces and nephews, and then it's for the IBD world. I feel
that's
that's what I need.
That's very noble of you. Very noble.
So, well, you're doing it too. You're still so new in this world, and you're doing it too. So
I'm following in your footsteps. Hopefully, we all are. That's what we're here to do.
You're making me nervous. My footsteps. Luckily, I have big feet. So I don't want to get cut off and mess this up. So
okay.
Unfortunately, I don't want to end, but I'm scared that I'm going to get cut off and mess this up. Since I'm the one that started this.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure. I couldn't even find my live button, so you should not be taking my advice. It just disappeared from me.
Okay. No, Risa, everybody's not going to text me. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Whether I could read your comment or not, because it was in Arabic, I know that Muhammad was likely responding to you.
He was translating, yeah.
I thank you so much, Muhammad, for following in the comments. And thank you so much, Sara, for...
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
So, and thank you everybody else that also responded in English too. I do appreciate it. Melissa, you're not going to text me. So until we talk again.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm here. Thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Karen. Bye.